Well, hello and welcome back. Pop quiz as we get started today. Who's the author of reality? That's our pop quiz. Who's the author of reality? All right. Why am I asking that? Well, that's our topic for today. We're in chapter 3, section 6 of the text of A Course in Miracles, Judgment and the Authority Problem. So let's ask ourselves, who's the author of reality? And maybe you'll answer that God is the author of reality, or perhaps not. Perhaps you answered that you are the author of reality, or that someone else is the author of reality. I don't know. We're looking at what Jesus refers to in the text as the authority problem. And we'll talk in some detail about why and how it's a problem. God is the author of reality, the only author of reality. In fact, God is period. In other words, reality itself. And nothing else is. Everything that changes, everything that transforms and shifts at all is illusion. And yes, that includes energy, which of course changes and it shifts. Anything that changes form or appearance in any way. So, lest we fall into a nihilistic existential crisis, you do exist. All right? God is. We're one with our Creator, and ideas, like you and me, leave not their source. Want to capitalize the S? Do it. That's what we're talking about. Ideas leave not their source. We've never left our home in God as one with God. Yet here, as we appear to be here in this thing that we call a human body, we think we're encased in it, and we mistake this 80% water organism thing as ourself. We mistake this for who we are, and we perpetuate that mistake over and over and over again because we've been conditioned to do so through no fault of our own, of course. It's just where we happen to find ourselves. Yet deep down, we recognize that there's more to it than that. That we can't possibly be limited to this thing that lasts 80 years, if we're lucky, and possibly much less, right? That's subject to disease and decay and deterioration that changes from one moment to another. One week we weigh more than we did the week before, or we weigh less, or we have more gray hair, or we become injured or ill. Change, constant change. So the authority problem is something that is very important for us to consider and to understand. In fact, Jesus refers to it here in paragraph 7 as the root of all evil. Well, actually, it's not evil, it's simply a mistake. The ego, our false sense of self, is simply a mistake. It's a mistake to believe that we're separate from our brother. It's similarly a mistake to believe that we're separate from God. That's all. It's a mistake. So it's not horrendous, bad, and evil, yet it does cause suffering if we identify with it. And we should say here in the world, as we identify with it, because if we didn't identify with it, we'd all be awakened and enlightened already. And this conversation wouldn't be happening because we wouldn't need it. And we wouldn't need it. There'd be no need. So from the one mistake, and there's only one mistake that needs correction. The one mistake is our supposed separation from God. That's the mistake. The solution, the correction, is what's known as the atonement, the correction of the Holy Spirit. And central to this is the recognition that the separation never occurred. It's impossible that it could ever occur at all. That's the correction of the Holy Spirit, which we're invited in this thought system to accept for ourselves, to accept atonement for ourselves. So we're not the author. And when I say we're not the author, our ego self, little case s, lowercase s, is not the author. So I, Reverend Tomas Garza, cut off and separate from all my brothers, so it seems, self-sustaining survival unit, da-da-da-da-da, and on and on. All of that, I'm not the author of reality. God is the author of reality. God is the author. Remember, we just said that the essence of the atonement, which we accept for ourselves, is that the separation never occurred. So while there appear to be 8 billion of us as what we call human beings here on this spinning rock that we call Earth, and this thing that we call a solar system, and so on and so forth, there appear to be many of us. There aren't many of us. There's oneness. Perfect oneness. And in fact, the definition of heaven is the awareness of perfect oneness. So what's going on? We're not aware of perfect oneness. So here we appear to be. Our problem here, the authority problem, we believe that we individually are the authors of reality. You believe you're the author of reality, and you project it. You project this delusion onto others. I've done the same thing. We all do the same thing here in the world. We believe that we made ourselves, and it's not true. We project our delusion onto other people. When we decide that we're cut off and separate from God, which of course is impossible, but we can delude ourselves into thinking that it is possible. And here you have it. Here you have the world of struggle and strife and economic warfare, physical warfare, germ warfare, death, pain, suffering, fighting everywhere you look, and our cell phones showing it to us as often as we care to zombie out and stare at them. This is what passes for our reality, yet it's not our reality. Our reality is completely untroubled by this mess that we appear to be in. God is completely untroubled by our delusion, which we project onto others. We believe we're cut off and separate, which induces tremendous fear and guilt, and we can't stand it, so we attempt to displace it. We don't want it hanging out, weighing us down, so we push it on to others. We project. It's psychological projection. We project our guilt and fear onto other people and blame them. They're the cause of our problem, right? Wall Street is the cause of our problem. The government is the cause of all of our problems. Our ex is the cause of all of our problems. Our idiosyncratic boss at work is the cause of all our problems. Anybody but us. When in fact, just the opposite is true. There is no other. There's only oneness. There's no other. There's no one out there. And while we run around completely frantic, psyched out, stressed out, dazed and confused, God remains completely untroubled. Our reality, if you want to call it our home, remains completely untroubled by all of our imaginary chaos, and it is imaginary. It sure as hell feels real here, doesn't it? There's a lot of power, tremendous power, when you begin to realize that while all of this sure feels and looks real, it smells real, it tastes real, right? Sounds real, all of that. There's tremendous power in beginning to entertain the idea that we made it all up. This is not the way things actually are. We've made the world. And, oh yeah, you're that powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are, all of us. We're that powerful. So having made it, what can we do? Unmake it. Then we need help in order to do that, don't we? Enter your inner teacher. Enter the Holy Spirit, Jesus, your guide or guides. Enter your inner teacher, whom we should all ask for guidance and help. The more we begin to entertain these ideas, the more powerful we discover that they are, and the more inspired we become to do what's truly necessary. And that's put them into practice. It's a tremendous relief, in fact, to accept that you're not the author of reality. May seem threatening at first, and perhaps you're threatened as we speak. Well, just consider that it's the ego that's threatened, and that's perfectly normal. For sure, isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, whoever said that letting go of ego identification was going to always be easy? Yeah, there'll be moments that are blissful and serene and utterly joyous and orgasmic, but there's going to be a lot of resistance at the same time, isn't there? So whoever said that it was going to be a walk in the park, rainbows and unicorns? Eh, And we know that, right? That's perfectly obvious from our experience. Now, while God's untroubled by all of our delusion, many of us are deeply troubled, and there are plenty of people who are plunged into an existential crisis, and doubt becomes so severe that they may even begin to doubt whether they exist at all. Now, if that has happened to you, it's not uncommon, right? But you do exist, not as this substance, but as God created you. Same for all of us. So, as we are deluded and project our delusion here in the world, we can tend to dig ourselves into a pretty deep hole, can't we? And at times it may seem inescapable. That's often what inspires people to start their journey in spirituality, no matter what tradition you practice or traditions, doesn't matter. That's often what spurs us on, is hitting rock bottom. So if you've hit that, ask your inner teacher for guidance. And if you're not at rock bottom, good, right? Good. Still, ask your inner teacher for guidance. And if you're feeling like you're on top of the world, ask your inner teacher for guidance. I know. We all know what to do. So it seems that we've lost the power of God. And in a sense, we actually have, but it's not gone. We simply don't recognize it. We don't remember where it is. It hasn't gone anywhere. God hasn't gone anywhere. Only God is, after all. So God isn't going anywhere. Our power, our reality, hasn't gone anywhere either, despite our wandering and denial of our power. We simply don't remember where to look for it. So how do you find out where to look for it? Well, you can watch these videos, and you know what I'm going to say. You can ask your inner teacher for guidance. We look for it within. It's never left. Ideas leave not their source. Our power has never left us. The power of God has never left us. Our creative power, our loving power has never left us. We've simply chosen to forget it. So, you know what I'm going to say next. Having chosen to forget it, we can choose to remember. How about that? Perhaps today will be the day where you choose to remember who you are. And that would be very cool. Yes, please do that. So, as we wrap up here, I hope that you find comfort in the idea that you're not the author of yourself. You're not the author of reality. God is the author of reality. So we can take that burden off of ourselves. We're not the author of reality. Yes, we make choices here in the world about whom to date, what job to hold, things like that, what to have for dinner. I mean, yes, those are choices that we make here in the world, but that's not reality. We're not the author of reality. And that is, in fact, deeply comforting when you allow that idea to really sink in and to hit. Let that one hit you. We can then unload ourselves of an ancient burden that we've been carrying around for time immemorial, and leave the outcome up to our inner teacher, so that we don't have to put the weight and the responsibility on ourselves of making sure everything turns out just so in the absolute best interest of every living thing throughout space and time, which, of course, of ourselves, we can't guarantee. We don't even know if a decision that we're making in the world, when we make it by ourselves, we don't know if it's going to blow up in our face within 15 minutes or not, right? So we ask our inner teacher for guidance. Yeah. We're not the author of reality. God is the author of reality. All right. Thank you all, as always, for joining me. And here is the subscription button. That's the red arrow. And I'd love to have you join me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that. These videos come out about 5 or 6 times a week, typically, unless I'm traveling. And the reason for that is consistency on the path is very important. These ideas run completely opposed to what we've been indoctrinated to believe in the world. So they require repetition if we're to really, truly learn them. Now, in the comments to this video will be the link to my Patreon page, where in a couple of weeks, on February 11th, to be exact, I'm going to begin my weekly live stream. So you can click that link and see all the details there. That'll be an opportunity for some live Q&A, and the longer time frame, about an hour. These videos run 15 to 20 minutes on the average. So with that longer time period, we'll be able to go deeper into some of these ideas from the course. All right, guys. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. And I hope that this idea, this lesson today, brings comfort to you, because that's what's intended. Might not be without some ego freakouts, but the ego's always freaked out. So let it be freaked out. Ask your inner teacher for help. Yeah, do that. Talk to you soon.